Why, hello again. It has been about 6 months or so since I last filmed a video. I'm gonna be awkward in this for sure. As you guys can tell from the title, the story is going to be about my struggles or journey, if you will, with depression and anxiety. I got this video inspiration from my favorite person ever, who is Anna Clendening. I saw a lot of myself in her, and I decided that it would be a great way for me to connect with a lot of people, considering that I want to kind of make my channel around like living a healthier life, overcoming like this sort of stuff, even if you don't really fully overcome it. It's just embracing the journey, embracing it all, and just finding small ways to make yourself better. I definitely want to focus my channel more on that. I want to give you guys a little update about what's been going on, and I've been receiving a lot of messages on Twitter and Instagram ever since I started posting more about my depression and anxiety. I found that a lot of people were coming to me to help them kind of get through it, and I just sort of want to make a video explaining everything. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get in. I'm going to try and make this as short and sweet as possible. So I'm kind of going to start from the beginning because I feel like that's the best way to kind of start this video out, is to start from the beginning. So when I was in about 1st grade, I think, I was diagnosed with a very severe case of social anxiety called selective mutism. And that was basically where if a teacher called on me in class, it was mainly in school. That's really the only thing I did when I was like in elementary school, whenever I went to school. So whenever I'd go to school, I found that it was really, really tough to talk to a lot of people. I actually wasn't talking to anyone, I think. And that's what kind of triggered people to think like, oh, maybe this is a problem. If teachers called on me in class, I would kind of freeze up. Even if I knew the answer to something, I froze up, didn't move at all. Like, I'd sit like a stick in my seat, and I would just start kind of internally panicking, and that kind of carried on all the way out my whole school career from kindergarten to 12th grade. Although throughout high school it started to slowly get better, like year after year. I was becoming more comfortable with the people I was surrounding myself with. I was at least sort of able to talk to people then. So after high school, I ended up moving about an hour away from my hometown to go to college, and everything was great that first year of college. After my first year of college, I decided that it just wasn't for me, so I ended up dropping out of college, and that was that. I took a summer off, sort of. I was kind of working for a catering company, so then by that time I ended up moving into a new apartment with 3 girls that I was previously friends with in high school, and all was great for a little bit. And I started working full-time as a server, and I didn't really think much about my social anxiety. I mean, I knew that I previously grew up with a very severe social anxiety and a very severe fear of talking to people, but I didn't really put it into my work. About a few months into working as a server, I started noticing that I was going to the bathroom a lot to take breaths for myself, like at least 10 times in a shift probably. That's a lot of times. I wasn't like full out panicking or anything like that, but serving's definitely when I started to discover that I was starting to have panic attacks, even though I didn't really know what they were. And I think I'm just now realizing that they're panic attacks now that I know what a panic attack is. So I noticed that if I would start to get really flustered, really stressed out, I had to just run to the bathroom immediately. If I couldn't even go and talk to anyone, sometimes I'd resort back to this little shell where I didn't talk to anyone unless it was like one person that I was like really close with, that I worked with. Even though I tried not to, I went ahead and got through it. I never quit my job. All was well. So about the summer of last year, I decided to move to the coast, which is about 4 hours away from my hometown and away from my friends and family. And I just sort of went out on a limb. I thought that I would love living at the beach, and I thought that I would have so many friends. I ended up working for the same company that I did in my previous city because I knew that I still had a lot of anxiety towards branching out of my comfort zone. So I just wanted to stick with what I knew. I knew the job, I'd worked for it for a year before, so I knew what I was doing. That was that. So about 2 months into living at the coast, I started noticing that I wasn't connecting with anyone there. I was just sort of going through the motions. That's when I think my panic attacks started coming up a little bit more frequently, or at least not my panic attacks, but at least my anxiety. And with my anxiety came a lot of depression because I was becoming so frustrated with why can't I just talk to people. Finally, one night, I decided I was going to go to a party and drink a lot, and by the end of the night, I was in a hospital. It was my depression, my anxiety just sort of battling, like on one side of my head, just sort of like, you can't do anything right, so I don't know, and I wasn't connecting with the people at the party, which kind of triggered it, I guess. There was a lot of things that triggered this, and I would be more than happy to go more into it, into a different video, but for this one, I'm staying on the outskirts of that situation. So I ended up spending 2 nights in a regular hospital until I was admitted into a mental hospital. It was really hard for me to come to terms with, hey, I have problems too, because I saw everyone else in there like struggling with way worse things than anxiety and depression, and I was just frustrated. I sort of laughed myself off, like, I don't deserve to be here, I don't have any problems. So I spent a week in that mental hospital, and then by the time that I was out, I decided I was going to take a week or 2 off work. And well, that week or 2 turned into about a month, and that month turned into 2 months, and that 2 months turned into 3 months, and that 3 months turned into now. But throughout those few months that I was living at the coast and not working, not going to school or anything, I started developing panic attacks very frequently. I was panicking at least 1 to 3 times a day. I'd go through these panic attacks, I'd have them out in public, I'd have them just sitting inside my apartment, I'd have them if I was just trying to text someone back. I just stopped texting anyone and everyone back, including all my friends. I stopped texting all my friends back. I wouldn't answer calls to anyone, even if it's like a doctor's office saying they need a checkup. Didn't answer. Once I started ignoring all these people, I definitely started lacking in my social skills, which sort of triggered even more panic attacks. And it made me to where I didn't want to socialize whatsoever at all. And I was completely happy to stay in my apartment. I was avoiding any sort of possible interaction with panic attacks. I didn't want to go anywhere new because I didn't want to panic because it was new. I didn't really want to go to anywhere that I've been before if I've had a panic attack there. My mind just started playing tricks on me, and my mind just basically turned its back on me and was like, bye, like, I'm out. Once I started avoiding panic attacks, I learned the term agoraphobia, and that's basically the fear of leaving your house or stepping outside of your comfort zone in fear of having more panic attacks. And it's a very, very common thing to develop if you struggle with panic attacks and anxiety, like I did. I struggled to even step foot outside of my apartment. If I heard people talking outside, I would wait till the voices were gone, and then I'd step out and decide that I could take on the day. But even if I'd decide that I could do that, I would drive places, get all the way there, and not get out of my car. I didn't want to. So I became really in love with just driving around and just listening to music. So throughout all this, I became so frustrated and I didn't know how to deal with it, so I began scratching myself. That's the only form of self-harm that I've really done. I kind of do it like subconsciously. I didn't know that I was even doing it. It was just a way that I coped with my anxiety. With scratching myself or self-harming myself, whatever you want to call it, I began hating myself so much and so embarrassed. There was a lot of other factors that sort of led to my anxiety and my panic attacks that, like I said, I would love to get into a different video. I'm just sort of scratching the surface right now. So after a long battle living at the coast there, I ended up moving back home with my Faja. And so far things have been at least a little bit better. I still panic a lot. Oh, also, one more thing I might add is that through being anxious and not only scratching myself, I began emotional eating a lot, and I ended up gaining a lot of weight, which also had a lot to do with my self-confidence, and that self-confidence definitely kind of fueled my anxiety and my depression a lot, because I was feeling so bad about myself and just so worthless, so helpless, and just so, mainly just frustrated, so angry. And even now I still have so much anger inside, like, how did I let myself get to this point? The important thing is that you just turn around those thoughts and say, nope, let's just focus on getting better and focus on not thinking the negative side of things. But yeah, so I would love to hear from you guys. If y'all would love to leave a comment down below, that would be so awesome. I want to hear you guys' story. If you want to tell me, if you don't, that's fine. I don't know if I already said this, as cheesy as it sounds, if I can just help one person with what they're dealing with, that's so awesome. I want to be able to help just one person. I hope that I can do that with as many of you guys as I can throughout my videos that I will be uploading more frequently. So thank you guys so much for listening to me rant and share my story. I'll see you guys in my next video, hopefully sometime next week or whenever I decide to post again, but it will be soon, not 6 months from now. So yeah, bye guys, thank you so much.